Dallas Jenkins, filmmaker, director, writer. The Chosen is the name of the series. Runaway smash hit. Season 4 will premiere, well, I think...
next year,
yeah. Well, 2024 will give you the date as we get closer. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so how did this start for you?
Can I first say something? I want to point out that I'm about to talk about a show about Jesus, the most famous and influential figure in history. Nothing I say is going to be as important as what you guys just talked about. Desserts.
About dessert? I completely
and the shape,
agree.
Everything you were saying, I was in the waiting room just cheering. They're even doing things now where they give you a flat fork that's not curved. And so you go to slice the cake, and it's also delivered on like a small plate, not a big plate. So it's like kind of boxed in.
Yeah.
And you'll do that first slice. The ice cream then falls onto that tiny little space that you've just created. There's not enough room for it.
What are we doing?
Because the fork is flat and not curved, you do like a cut into it. It's not rounding off your bite. It's just kind of creating half of a little bite of the whole. I just wanted to point out.
I
appreciate what you're doing for the country.
I'm going to see you and raise you one, and this, which is everyone thinks I'm nuts all the time about everything. What I'm saying is it's a standard. It's also sort of the way Grandma did it, and getting rid of the way Grandma baked is right up there with tearing down the statue of George Washington or Christopher Columbus. It's all in the same hamper, which is we must get rid of everything that was so that we can enact our new world order.
But sometimes it's just for the sake of getting rid of
nothing traditional is good. We must upend the apple cart. We must.
Yes, it's never like, the guy who bakes the pineapple upside down cake that's shaped like half a softball, he's a devout Christian. Oh, no, I know what that guy's drenched in patchouli. I know exactly how and he's up. It's all out of San Francisco. I talked to a chef once who just went, all this it all started in San Francisco and it just made leaked out like a lab leak.
No normal eater has been consulted on any of these new decisions.
No, it's a good point. So you're traditional in your desserts and in your approach to filmmaking.
Absolutely. So on that note, how did this all get started? So The Chosen, it's the first ever multi-season show about the life of Christ. There's been movies, there's been miniseries, but there's never actually been a multi-season show. I think the other thing that sets it apart is it's a very human, authentic portrayal as opposed to kind of the formal Bible projects that you've seen, even the good ones over the years. There tends to be a bit of an emotional distance, a bit of a stained glass window, formal approach. This show is inspired by my favorite shows like Friday Night Lights and West Wing and stuff like that. Just that's kind of the approach to this that makes it feel a little bit different. But the way that it started was, ironically enough, considering our conversation, quite untraditional. We did it completely outside the box, went directly to the audience. It was crowdfunded. Season 1 was crowdfunded based on a short film I did for my church, and generated $10 million from over 16,000 people around the world based on this little thing I shot on my friend's farm in Illinois, 20 minutes from my house. And we decided to make it free, so that was a unique thing. I mean, everything about this show has been kind of outside the system, outside the box. And lo and behold, over the last couple of years, it's turned into a bit of a phenomenon.
Do you find that there's a sort of a course correction, which is, I keep sort of citing, the number one late night show is Gutfeld.
Right.
Now, that would have been unthinkable several years ago. The top of the charts are country hits right now. Incredible success of a Tucker Carlson. And I'll just lay this out. Tucker Carlson is conservative. Don Lemon is progressive. They both got thrown off the air the same night. You're never going to hear from Don Lemon again because people don't want to hear what that's to say. You will not hear it. He has nothing to say. People always look at me like, oh, come on. No, you get a hold of me. Well, go back 6 months. Go back to when they got fired. It's been Tucker Carlson blowing up the internet and not a peep out of Don, and you will not hear a peep out
of Don.
Well, there's nothing to say that isn't already being said. That's
right.
It's not that
that's right.
He's not interesting.
Yes, he can physically talk. Yes, but we have everyone else on The View will just say exactly what Don Lemon will say. Sure. So we don't need Don Lemon. But my point is there's a change, and it's getting back to some sort of conservative. Sometimes it's religious. Sometimes it's just the way Grandma used to make pineapple upside down cake. But there's a move, a distinct move toward that. And I feel like Madison Avenue should kind of wake up to that, because Bud Light just got because they're so tone deaf with who Americans are and what they really want. And yes, the average Bud Light drinker is not down with Dylan Mulvaney.
Right.
But you guys don't understand that, because there's a handful of college-educated chicks who've decided it's a good idea. And most Americans aren't for, transing kids and not telling their parents. Like, they have to, politicians and Madison Avenue and Hollywood need to kind of wake up to the fact that there's this whole group of people and they're voting with their wallets.
Yeah. And that's for sure. We came at the right time. There was a bit of a I wouldn't call it an overcorrection, because I think that implies that it's going too far in one way. I think this is actually just a moderate correction towards, like what you're talking about, what's more traditional. And I love some of the shows that are kind of the opposite of what I do. I mean, I love Succession on HBO Max. I love a lot of the stuff that people on the coasts like, but there is a massive, massive audience that has been underserved, ironically enough, for a long time. And I do think we're benefiting a little bit from that. The fact that we're not necessarily traditional, that we didn't come through the same streaming platforms that most shows are coming through, was actually to our advantage with the audience. That was a value add.
I think there's a stigma when you say that, I'm putting out a show about Jesus, or like, I'm in a Christian rock band. Oh, people already know what we're going to sound like, or at least they have an idea. So if you put out a show about Jesus, people think they already know. Like, I mean, I went to Catholic school first 8 years, of school. I saw the Davy and Goliath episodes. I've seen all the reenactments of Jesus stuff.
Me too.
So like I remember all of it, and I would never watch any of that anymore. Like,
I watched David and Goliath.
Yeah.
David and Goliath was always like, we get to church faster if we took that guy's car. I don't know, David.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That was the whole show. Exactly. So making a show about Jesus now, and if you're saying like you're inspired by Friday Night Lights and it's actually a high quality show.
That's been the key to take it from, initially, the first year or two, it was very niche. The audience was niche. The audience was exactly what you're talking about. We love the fact that it's outside the system. But now that it's starting to reach the mass, it's starting to go outside of the box of just the faith audience, because of the fact that it doesn't feel like all the things we just described. Yeah. I mean, I was just in Brazil 2 weekends ago. The show has exploded in Brazil. I've been, right now, for the last 2 months, it's been in the top 5 on Amazon, across all genres, all styles of project. Over half of our cast and crew are not traditional believers. Some of them are, atheists even. And I was going to talk to you about this at one point, because I've heard your rant on atheism and versus the crappy arguments of religion, and I found it fascinating. This is a show that you can watch that doesn't feel like a church service. It doesn't feel like it's imposing religion on you. It's if this happened, this is what it would have looked like. And then you can decide for yourself what that means for you,
I think much like, it's going to seem a little out of left field, but like electric cars. When people were trying to introduce or build their own electric cars, 15, 20 years ago, they looked like weird slabby boxes. They didn't look like Audis or Mercedes, And so like when you take a group, so Hollywood is very progressive and very liberal and the opposite of conservative and religious, right? So they're going to get a big head start. Like they have a big head start in comedy because conservatives and right-wingers and like Fox viewers they're not skilled in it. So there's a learning curve, So what you're going to see is all these really slick, funny, well-produced, shows on the left in the comedy department. And then the right-wing comedy version is going to be like, get her done, like it's going to be a kind of they're literally 25 years behind.
Yeah.
So the stuff doesn't look that slick. They don't get the best and the brightest. They don't have access to the funniest writers. Right. Those guys are all working for Colbert, right? But as time goes on, like the electric car, you're going to start seeing them get a little slicker and a little nicer, and they starting to look a lot better.
Yeah.
And now they rival the other non-electric cars because they were behind, the internal combustion motors. Those cars, they had a 100-year head start.
Right.
And there's no way they're going to make it up in 4 years. But it's been long enough now where the art and the creativity on the right, while still lagging behind, and certainly in the comedy department, is starting to catch up. And
Not even just electric cars. Like take Kia and Hyundai, for instance.
Right.
Like I look at cars on the freeway, I'm like, oh, those look good. And they're Kias and Hyundais, which were garbage.
Right.
Like
So-
2 decades
Well, and the
ago.
same thing is true of the audience. They can survive for several years because the audience is giving them extra credit for the message. So whether it's a faith-based project where they're going to appreciate, they don't need the quality to be great because the message is so unique and so for them, they love it. Same thing is true of electric cars. The people who are religious about electric cars, well, they'll buy one because, yeah, it's not great. Yeah, it doesn't look great, but I'm so behind the cause, I'm willing to put up with the lack of quality. So that also can kind of sometimes, in many ways, cause the learning curve to go even longer because there's not necessarily a motive to be better because you're selling stuff. We're trying to, like in our secret rooms, talking about how can we make this better. We're saying we got to make this better faster because if we're going to actually be appreciated by people outside of just the choir, we do have to be better. And I think that's true of the electric cars as well. True of like you said, the Kia is to cross the chasm, to be to reach the masses outside of just the niche. You do have to be better, and you have to be influenced by some of the best influencers.
You look like you played a little ball in high school and in college. You strike me
You
as
have
a
that look, yeah.
tight end, maybe defensive end, possibly outside linebacker. I'm not sure. Long snapper? I don't know.
Not a long snapper, no. Basketball was my primary thing, but yeah, played some football, did it all. Sports was my primary obsession growing up, and then I saw One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when I was in high school, and that movie changed my life and made me want to make movies and TV.
I think they showed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when I was in high school as well, for some reason, even though I'm 10 years older. I just remember that they could show a movie that the teachers liked or something in the auditorium or something, and I saw that. Wait, am I the only person that's ever watched the claymated series Davy and Goliath for purely entertainment purposes?
I watched it in school.
Not because it was being foisted on me.
Dude, watched it all the time. Loved Davy and
You watched
Goliath.
it because there was nothing else on, right?
Yeah, but in my opinion, I would say it was better than the Brady Bunch.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
It was pretty legit.
Do you remember the music? I think I can do it.
I can almost
All right,
hear
you
it in
want
my
to try?
head.
Try your version of it. Let me try mine.
It's orchestral. It's like no, but all I can
You
do
ready?
is hello, Davy.
All right, it was bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
Okay, yeah.
That's my recollection of it from being six years old. That's all I got. It's not in syndication
Right.
now, as far as I can tell.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's a well-known hymn.
Oh, is that
Ah,
where
yeah.
they wasn't a feel alike or sound alike so they could clear it? Because it was put together
Yeah,
in
how'd they get the
12,
rights to that?
17.
It's 500 years old. They can do that.
Wow. Yeah, it was a crazy cartoon put on. Who invested in that? Or who sponsored that? The Church of, was
had to
it
be a
Mormon or
It had to be
something?
a church.
was Mormon?
I don't think they were
I-
Mormon.
I don't think so.
It
Catholic
was
school.
put up by somebody at the end. You can tell. They wouldn't
It was
even.
like a fleur de lis in there.
Could you imagine? They wouldn't even
or Florida,
imagine them.
whatever.
They would ban that in California now. Like they won't even let PragerU. They don't even like
I'm
PragerU.
curious, why did you watch it? as a kid?
Lutherans?
Lutherans.
The Lutherans.
I knew it.
That's on the Protestant side of things. Yeah.
I had no choice. I did not read, and so all I could do was watch TV. And TV was a novelty in that there was just people moving and talking.
There's motion.
And it didn't really matter if I liked it or agreed with it or knew it or it was good. Something was happening. It didn't involve reading, and I got to sit there and watch it. And so I would just, as a young atheist, watch Davy and Goliath. And somebody, I guess, in somewhere in the back of my mind, somebody had created something, and I was going to partake.
Right.
Like, I've always been, and I don't know why more people are not more this way, but I would stare at a billboard or stare at an advertisement or stare at a car design or something and try to figure out who made these decisions, how did they arrive at this place,
right.
who's behind this. And most people's attitude was always like, who cares? Shut up. So what? Everyone's always like really dismissive of everything. Like, people's problem is they're like, I like horses. And then that's about it. So unless we're talking about horse, I'm not interested. And then you go, well, how come this? And then why that? And I go, I don't know. Who cares? Why are you obsessed? And I'm like, because I'm interested in everything, because humans created and people made decisions, and I'd kind of like to learn from them. Like, I'd like to see the stuff I don't like,
right?
So I know what not to do or that I don't like. I'd like to see stuff that's good, that can be kind of inspiring. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Did you like Davy and Goliath? Do you remember? You remember the song? You remember? Like, you watched it more than once?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was on, and I would watch it. And I don't remember it being entertaining or funny. I remember the lessons.
Right.
Like, I remember there was an episode where, like, there was a guy who was going to walk out in front of traffic. Like, he's just like stepping off the curb, and like Davey grabbed him and was like admonishing him, like, what are you doing? No. And the guy turned out to be blind. So then Davey learned a lesson that he shouldn't judge and yell at the guy.
Rod Sterling write that one?
Yeah, I remember being like 6 back in, Menominee, Wisconsin or something, going, all right, so don't judge people too quickly. Maybe he has his reasons.
And that's been your premise, right? Is as an atheist, you're saying, I like the lessons of Christianity. I just don't believe you have to believe in God to.
If I had a magic wand, I would come down with a tablet with the 10 Commandments on it. I would stand up at the Super Bowl and I would scream into a microphone, all souls have to go off of this. Every one of you. Every one of you degenerate pricks has to go off of this. You understand? I don't, but everyone else does. And we'll be living in a utopia in about 20 minutes if people just followed the golden rule.
Right.
If people just said, and I don't know if the golden rule is even biblical, although it's the oldest thought on the planet. Just don't do what you don't want to be done to you.
It's basically the New Testament tenement of it's do unto others.
Yeah, you would have them
if everyone just said, there's just one thing, just do the golden rule. Just don't, if you don't if you don't want to pull up into a Costco with a shopping cart parked in the slot you wanted to park in, and if you wish that person put it back with the other shopping carts, then you do that. You do it with everything all the time, and we'll be living in utopia in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's the libertarian philosophy: don't hurt others, don't take their stuff.
Yes.
Jesus goes a little further, but yeah, like when you grew up in Menominee.
No, I was there. I was Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Okay.
I was God, where else? I was all over the place for like a little while. All right, you want to know the best way to go through life? Well, not the best way for you to go through life, but ultimately it is. Ultimately it is. Okay. Forget about the golden rule. Forget about it.
Serve cake and a wedge.
Forget about the golden rule. Just remove yourself from every equation. Just remove. You just don't, like, it's not, well, you wish if that was your parking spot, it's not your parking spot, not anyone's parking spot. Just remove yourself from every argument, every dust up, every discussion. It's like, look, I know you're off at the person who's at the gate of United Airlines because they shut the door and they're not letting you onto the flight. But that's really because you're getting locked off. Do you agree with the policy overall that the door has to get shut at a certain time? And if the answer is yes, and you're on that flight, then let's not have completely different approaches to life versus you're on that flight versus you're standing in the terminal arguing with the person who shut the door and the gates closed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just remove yourself from the equation. By the way, you think much more clearly.
Sure.
And I was just in, I was out of town. It was a hotel room. And I had a glass. And the glass had coffee and cream and whatever in it. And I was standing, and I went over to the bathroom sink, and I started rinsing it out. And the person I was in the room with said, "Why are you rinsing the cup out?" And I said, "Because I rinse cups out." And they said, "But that's not your cup." And I said, I'm still the person who I rinse cups out. Not my cup, your cup, my cup, his cup. I just rinse cups out. Now, it's stupid. It doesn't make a difference. And you can pay enough. They could go rinse their own cup out. But I just rinse cups out. I don't rinse my cups out or yours. I just do cups. And if you just go through life that way, you'll think clearly because you don't realize how much your thoughts are corrupted by yourself, by factoring in what you want. Like a 9-year-old who wants shotgun both directions to the movie theater and back, and the kid brother. You're so clouded by what you want. Remove yourself, act accordingly. We will be living in a utopia.
There it is. It's
problem solved. But yeah, that
we'll end with
in The Chosen. We're now 3 seasons have been released. We just finished filming the 4th. That was the consistent message of Jesus: death to self. He didn't say the words "remove yourself from the equation" or "rinse all the cups," but it was. In that vein, it was the idea of what you want. You feel entitled to be angry. You feel entitled to overcome oppression. You feel entitled to be released from whatever struggle you're going through. And you think that I'm here to take all of that away, and I'm not. I'm here to take you away from yourself, for you to die to yourself, and for you to give me your heart. And so, yeah, I'm going to maybe steal the line in a future season. Rinse the cups, not my cup or your cup.
Just the cups.
Wisdom from Adam Carolla.
It's not, I think people think it's being magnanimous. Like, oh, you're so much better than everyone. It's an easier life. It's like saying, don't lie, and you're never going to have to remember all these stories. And it's like, well, that makes you noble. You're not a liar. No, I don't lie because it's easier. I don't have to get caught and go back and check my notes all the time. Just be consistent. It's an easier life. Just rinse the mug. Don't lie. You don't imagine having to toggle back and forth between my mode and your mode all the time. Like, wait a minute, whose mug is this? Wait, should I rinse this? Who paid for this mug? Like,
there's a freedom in it for sure.
There's a freedom in it. Yeah. You just do the same thing you do at every single time. I walk out of a green room before I go on stage. I shut the lights to the green room. And then Mike August yells, I was watching the game. No, I shut the lights. And then people are always like, why you shut the lights? Because I shut the lights. And they go, but that's not your theater. And I go, I don't care. You don't have to pay the electric bill. Doesn't matter. I just have, because then when I'm at home, I don't have to think about it. It's just you shut the lights, you rinse the mug.
Stay consistent.
That's who you are. Do not have a separate mode for who's paying the electric bill and who's not paying the electric bill. I think we have that scene from Dave and Goliath, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's a deaf kid, not a blind kid. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, sorry.
So he's yelling.
Yeah. Here comes a fire truck. Oh, an ambulance.
Ambulance! Get back!
Can't hear. He's dead. Man, that dog saved that kid's life.
Yeah.
Barking in his ear.
What's the matter with you?
Dave's gonna scold him.
Don't you listen to anybody ever?
If he got run over, they'd blame you.
Well, I did forget the whistle and the right stop signal.
You told him. You hollered.
Well?
Kid just walks
Wow.
away, crosses the street.
You didn't even say thanks.
I would say the deaf kid could have been a little more polite.
Yeah.
You can tell someone's trying to talk
Acknowledge.
to you.
Yeah, and
do your part in informing him. It goes back to the restaurant. Tell the customer. Ravos.
Deaf people should have a deaf hat.
Yeah, he should at least say
like a big cone.
He should say,
you know what I mean?
You should say, you need to know you're not going to get what you're expecting from me.
Yeah.
Or at least that stick with the string that goes through it. That folds. I don't know why. You can carry a full-size cane anywhere you want, but the deaf cane, that thing's got to fit in your pocket.
Is there
That
a
thing's
deaf
got
cane?
to. Oh,
I didn't know there's a deaf
There's
cane.
a blind cane.
Oh, sorry, the blind cane. Yeah, the deaf hat. Sorry, I'm getting my deaf and my dumbs all screwed up. My blind. The blind cane folds up into nothing.
Yes.
That's the one that's got the string. The deaf hat is what we need.
Right.
Because that would have saved Davey a lot of problem if he saw the guy wearing the deaf hat. He'd know to signal some other way than vocally.
Yeah, I think 2 lessons could have been taught at the end of that episode. If don't judge, but also if you're deaf, give people some sort of indication.
Deaf hat.
They could have solved a lot more, yeah.
Also, so that was the setup. I think it was Act 3 where
We find out.
that he's
So
deaf.
act 2, Davey's just stewing.
Yeah. I don't think they did the deaf guy voice. I would have been impressed by that when I was in Menominee at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they did that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, how did he... Oh, somebody told him, this is where we find out he was deaf?
This
the
guy
bar?
puts the pieces together.
The name of the episode is Louder, Please.
Yes, he said Mr. Jenkins,
Mr. Reed,
Shop.
did you ever hear of such a dumb kid?
I think you've just said 2 key words, Davy. Hear and dumb.
What?
From all you tell me, I think the boy is deaf. And because he can't hear, he's dumb. Not the kind of dumb you mean. Dumb meaning he can't talk.
Could that be it?
Remember how he acted? Remember?
Didn't hear us ask what time it was.
Didn't hear me bark at him.
This is incredible.
And didn't hear the ambulance siren.
He tried to tell us he couldn't hear.
Not sure
we
that's
made
true.
fun of him on the way to school.
Didn't know, Davy.
I don't care. Dad says never make fun of anyone, and I did.
Dad, I still don't see why he can't talk. If you never heard how words sound, you wouldn't know how to make sounds. Oh, some deaf people can
All
learn
right.
to talk.
So if they made David and Goliath today, every third story would be about a kid transitioning, and we can't judge, and they want to do drag queen story hour at the school, and Davey says it's a bad idea. Like, they'd have to hit some other topicalities here, right?
And they're also going to ask me, did you get to play clips of The Chosen on your appearance of Adam Carolla? Oh, we played clips. We played 2 clips, long clips. It was just a show from 40 years ago.
Somebody brought up Davey and Goliath, and that was a big mistake.
Adam just went down the rabbit hole of his childhood.
Well, when do we now? How's the budget work? How's the money raised? Who's behind it? Who's the studio behind it?
So season 1, totally crowdfunded by these 16,000 people around the world, and so that was $10 million allowed us to do season 1, and then after season 1 we were charging people to watch it, and that was difficult. They didn't want to download a new app; they couldn't find it anywhere, and so we did we put it on YouTube for 8 live streams in a row. Just debuted. This is when COVID hit. This is when the show really started to take off, is during COVID. So I hosted live streams where I'd show an episode and say, here's the thing. We've decided to make the show free, and you can contribute to it if you want or not. And that night our income quadrupled, and the next night it quintupled. And so,
like Radiohead.
Yeah. So it became, so the show has been free for, the whole run, and it will always be free. And so our budget for season 4 was about $40 million total.
How many episodes?
So 8 episodes, so about 5 per episode, which is
That's
huge
big.
for a free show, but it's small compared to Game of Thrones or Stranger Things or anything like that. But it's people choosing to donate if they want or not. And now that, of course, Amazon, of course, it's on Amazon, it's on Peacock. Season 1's on Netflix. So they pay license fees for it now, so that contributes. But nothing generates more money than when I do a live stream directly to the audience. I'll do something we'll have 100,000 people come on to listen and watch an episode, and I'll say, just a reminder that, for us to finance the next season, if you can't afford to, don't do it. But if you can, and if you're interested, go ahead. And that's how we.
That's awesome.
How we generate. It allows us, of course, to keep the control. Allows us to control the content. And then, but then now that it's on, it's really hitting. We do recognize there's a ceiling to how big it can get that way. It's been on, like I said, it's been on Amazon now for 2 months. Been in the top 10 season 3 because. There is a group of people who are like, I want to watch this, and I've heard it's good, and I've heard it's not, what I've typically assumed it would be, but I don't want to have to go look for it. Is it on Prime? Is it on? And that's allowed us to reach an even bigger audience.
Let me pitch you, because I've done a little bit of acting.
Yeah.
Not a fine actor, but I've done enough. Surly chariot mechanic. You know what I mean? Cigar chomping guy, with a little bit of a Brooklyn attitude.
Yeah.
I'm not saying yes or no right now. I'm just saying
I'll put a pin in it.
Think about that.
I will say there is a moment that I think you'd love, which is at the very beginning of season 2, the disciples can't find Jesus. He's supposed to be preaching here soon, and they can't find him. And they end up finding him. He's under a wagon, and he is fixing, he's fixing an axle, and he's getting some pitch to put on it, and because Jesus, as we know, was raised by a carpenter, he was a craftsman, he was a handyman. So we show a lot of that. I mean, this is a Jesus that, yes, we show him as doing miracles and as the Son of God, but also someone who laughs with his friends. He dances. I mean, the first miracle in the Bible is essentially, turning water to wine. He was doing a favor for his friends because his mom asked him to. It's that kind of stuff that we're showing the humanity of Jesus as well as the divinity, and that allows it to feel again, there's 3 or 4 scenes that I think Adam Carolla would be like, oh yeah, they got that right. That's how he'd fix an axle. And Jesus, there's me. That's behind the scenes. That's me working through the scene. Yeah, this scene showing Jonathan, the guy who plays Jesus, what we're doing.
So it was the axle. I told my brother it was the axle.
Yes, I'm reading the dialogue.
Wow.
Yeah. This is episode 1 of season 2. This is the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah.
I guess the Space Saver spare wouldn't work well on those old time carts, right? Because it'd be leaning over too far.
Yeah.
Never thought about that.
So to answer your question, yes.
Yeah. Cameo.
But Jesus is already doing some of the things.
He's already hands-on.
Yeah.
Where should people go if they want to find out or contribute or learn more? Is there a website?
Yeah, if they've never seen it, if they're, again, it's on Prime. The first 3 seasons are on Amazon Prime. They're on Peacock. Season 1's on Netflix. It's totally free and easy on the Chosen app. You just look up the Chosen anywhere you get your apps. It's very easy to find, and it's totally free, totally easy to watch. We don't even require an email address. We make it as easy to find as possible. It's been translated into dozens and dozens of languages, so it's international now. And we want to make it as easy to find as possible. And then season 4 comes out. It debuts in theaters.
Wow,
that's the thing we did. That's the other thing we did that was unique. So in season 3, we debuted episodes 1 and 2 in theaters, and we're 3rd in the box office that weekend. It was funny that morning when they were announcing Friday morning when the trades were predicting the box office for the weekend, we weren't even listed as being released.
Yeah, they're snobs.
And then night, the headline was shocking, third place finish, from this TV show that decided to release in theaters because our fan base is very rabid, so we wanted to get them into theaters. So we're season 4 launches in theaters in February, and then comes to streaming in March around 2024.
Well, it gives me hope. I really do. I love these kinds of stories, and there's a lot of in this era we're living in, there's plenty of reasons to get depressed, but then there's plenty of reasons to kind of get your hopes up and go, yeah, these people are doing this and that guy's saying that, and they found a following, and people are saner than I thought they may be.
Yeah.
And good. All right. I am going to be in Vegas tonight at Jimmy Kimmel's Club's second show added, so you can come on out to the late show if you like, or the early show. I think 7:30 and I don't know,
7:30 and 9:30.
Something like that. You can go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. The Chosen, Dallas Jenkins, congratulations on that. And Dre DiMatteo, you can check her out on OnlyFans and also check out her Gangster Goddess Broad broad-cast.com. Oh, that's the merch line. Sorry, and the wine as well. Thanks, Dallas.
Yeah, appreciate
it's been
you having
fun.
me.
Until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Chris Max Bennett and Dallas Jenkins and Dre DiMatteo saying, mahalo.